Greetings, everyone. I'm back with you. There's a saying that says the one who wins the battle at the moment, or the war at the moment, gets to write history. And this is what, as the people, or the sons of Adam, and then the Most High inheritance, the sons of Akobi, this is where we have found ourselves. To the point where we have been, for a lack of a better word, trained not to listen to ourselves, but to listen to others other than ourselves. And if we are listening to ourselves, it has to be that we must have all of the things before and after our names, and probably wearing the white jacket, these things that our forefathers would never have known. And so here we are at this moment in time where there are things happening around us at right now, which most of us are clueless about, not paying attention to, and based on what you see around you, really don't care. Everybody is interested in where the next dollar or next pose is coming from. And this is unfortunate because our enemies have layered this thing down in such a way that you'd have to peel back the layers and peel back the layers and peel back the layers to find even a scratch of the truth. And because many of us are spiritually lazy and intellectually lazy, it is written that my people die because of a lack of knowledge. And it's not just scriptural knowledge, but it is knowledge of the things happening around us, as where it is written, those that have eyes to see and will perceive. And so as we get into the next part of this, the follow-up to the last teaching slash presentation, I'm walking out to you something that we must understand. The battle that is going on and has been going on since the beginning. Since the Most High formed man for a reason which we will not discuss now, and placed him in that garden, and the woman whom he placed with him, and the fall of the both of them leading until now has been a war. And that war continues. The war between those in the heavenly part that rebelled, that were cast down here, and man whom the Most High gave dominion over everything upon the earth, and to name everything that he created and give him dominion. And so that war continues. It is also written that there's a seed of man, the inheritance of the Most High, and there's a seed of the wicked one. And it is easy to get us as a people to believe in all types of things, but yet we refuse or we hesitate to wrap our heads around truth and to see through all of the smoke, all the deception, and all of the mirrors as to what is really happening. And so in these days, as we see the things happening around us that the Most High has spoken of, that he left for us in our scrolls, the Bantu scrolls that they took and rewrote and came back and gave us something with themselves inserted into it, with their mighty ones inserted into it. For the short time that they have been inhabiting this earth, we have all become deceived and complacent. But what the Most High has said, we are in that time. Those days are here. And you're going to see it with your own eyes. And so it will be up to you where you want to rest, on the right or on the left. But there is no in between. There is no middle ground. There's no gray area. And so I'm hoping that these presentations will open your eyes, give you an opportunity to be able to sit and be quiet and focus and absorb the information, to push out what has been placed in your heads through the system of Babylon, of Babel, that's across the whole earth. And for those of us, of the children of Akobi, the inheritance rather, of the Most High, whom he separated from the nations, of the sons of Nuach, and whom he referred to as his firstborn. Let us also repent and return to the covenant relationship, that we can take our rightful place and to fulfill the responsibility that he had set and given us to do on the earth after the flood for the sons of Adam. Please pay attention, listen carefully, and if you have any questions, place them in the comments. Ask a question, reach out to me, and we can have a discussion. But time is short, time is here. There's a lot to learn and a lot to know, because the Most High's timeline waits for no one. He will do what he seeks to do. But the question is, which side do you want to find yourself on? Because if you find yourself in the wrong place, there's no turning back. And so I'm going to end what I have to say here. I believe for the next minute and 30 seconds or so, you can look at and absorb the scriptures, or if you want to go back and replay and take your time to look at what is being presented, line it up with the scripture that is given to you. Take those scriptures and go and read the entire chapters of those things and ask the Most High to open your eyes and give you understanding. Okay, see you on the next one.
Europe has barely emerged from one brutal heat wave, and now another crisis is hitting. Across the continent, relentless drought is draining fields, drying up pasture, and pushing farmers into a fight for survival. What started as a heat emergency is now becoming a full-blown agricultural crisis. For farmers, the damage is already devastating. In Hungary, vast stretches of grazing land have turned dry and barren, leaving livestock with far less pasture to feed on. Farmers are being forced to bring in feed much earlier, adding heavy costs just as the land becomes less productive.
Even though I have the right amount of land for this number of animals, they can't graze half as much as they did 4 to 5 years ago. There was water here. Every spring, the canals and lowlands were filled up. There were quite a lot of wet land and meadows here. Once upon a time, our parents, grandparents grew reeds here, but they even fished in these areas.
Crop farmers are taking a direct hit too. In the Netherlands, potatoes are shrinking and carrots are drying out, with some crops becoming difficult to harvest because the soil is so parched. In the Czech Republic, heat is stunting hops. while Italy's drought-hit Po Basin is putting rice production under severe water stress.
In July, we had just 5 millimeters of rain, and in August we could end up with virtually none. So in just 2 months, we're looking at a rainfall deficit of around 180 millimeters. We were already dealing with a deficit from the winter and from last year, so we're just continuing to build up that shortfall. And now it's starting to become critical.
And farmers are being squeezed from both sides. Drought is cutting the amount they can produce while simultaneously increasing the cost of keeping their farms running. More animal feed, irrigation, crop losses, and damaged harvests are eating into already tight margins. In some regions, water restrictions are making it impossible to simply irrigate their way out of the crisis.
The crop has actually deteriorated about a month earlier than normal, to the point where almost all the greenery has disappeared from the field. That has simply caused the potatoes to be much smaller. Normally, they should be around 10 centimeters, and some are still about 8 centimeters, but many are only half that size, around 5 or 6 centimeters. And for the potatoes destined to become fries, that's actually just a little too small.
The warning for Europe's farmers is stark. Another extreme summer is leaving farms with less water, weaker harvests, and higher costs, while repeated drought is steadily eroding the land's ability to recover. This is no longer just about surviving one bad season. For farmers across Europe, the fight is becoming about whether their farms can survive the next one.
A world that is being ravaged by extreme weather. These images are coming in from Croatia, where the scene appears almost apocalyptic. I mean, wildfires along the coast are forcing hundreds to evacuate. Shifting winds have been spreading the fires deeper into land, and other parts of continental Europe, including France, Germany and Greece, are also battling major fires. Meanwhile, here in the UK, fires have been ripping through homes in the West Midlands. The local fire service is calling it one of the most significant incidents in its history. And on Thursday, Britain recorded its hottest day of the year, with the summer on track to become its hottest on record. And it's not simply the heat that is impacting the globe. Drenching storms are rolling over the Midwest US for a sixth day. It follows a 1 in 1,000 year rainfall event on Wednesday. And just outside Tokyo, incredible pictures, record-breaking torrential rain has fallen on Japan's Chiba prefecture. At least 8 people have died, and parts of the region received nearly 3 times the average August rainfall in just one day. A guest of ours, Becky Spate, for more of a sort of look on the wildlife angle to this. She is the CEO of the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds and is joining us now from Nottingham, England. Becky, thank you so much. It's great to have you with us. I understand you visited a natural reserve in Suffolk just last week in England following a huge wildfire there, one that we've actually been reporting on. Can you tell me what that experience was like?
Yes, this was a fire that had ripped through Dunwich Heath, which is an area of ancient heathland, about 200 years old, which the National Trust cares for. And we neighbour it at RSPB Minsmere, which is a mixture of all sorts of habitats, including quite a lot of wetland, thankfully. And the damage that I saw was really very, very distressing. I mean, just kind of what had been kind of beautiful, kind of rich habitats full of wildlife. I mean, we're talking about birds like nightjars, sweet little Dartford warblers, all sorts of really fantastic birds, reptiles, etc. Just kind of had their habitat completely wiped out. And the fire service there were telling me that at one stage they had 40-metre high fire fronts because the fire had got into some of the pine trees and was sending those up like torches. So it really was a very intense, very rapidly progressing fire, and it has done enormous damage, and it will take us many decades to recover those areas.
Now, ongoing heat wave in parts of Pakistan is affecting farmers' ability to irrigate their crops. Farmers are balancing between extreme weather conditions of drought, heat and monsoon rain, damaging harvests and impacting yields. human-induced climate change is partly to blame and needs to be addressed. Now, summer in Pakistan's Sindh province and the water canals bringing much needed moisture to the fields are dry. Water levels in the Indus River are low, and local farmers are unable to sow their crops due to unavailability of water for irrigation. The farmers usually sow at this time of the year after the end of the spring harvest. However, this year the second harvest will not be possible.
I had cultivated chickpeas and wheat on my land in the previous sowing season. When the crops were about to be completed, I could not get enough water, and the production of wheat crops was reduced, and I could not get a sufficient price for my crops.
Farmers whose land is located at the far end of the water canal or irrigation system are known as tail-end farmers. Manju says farmers are experiencing the effects of climate change, which manifest as either drought or floods.
You may already know that the continent is facing a scorching summer. Wildfires have broken out across large swathes of Europe this year. Dramatic visuals of burning forests have been coming out of the continent. But wildfires are just one part of that story. The other is drought. European rivers have been drying up. The fields are parched, turning to shades of yellow and brown. About 75% of the UK is under drought conditions, and much of mainland Europe is on high alert. Here's our report.
Take a look at this drone footage from Belgium. It was taken last year. Now, look at the same areas this year. The lush green is mostly gone, replaced by dry, sickly yellow. This is because Europe is facing a major drought this year. This is the state of some of Europe's largest rivers. The Loire in France has been drying up. It's flowing at extremely low levels. The riverbed has become exposed due to the shortage of water. It's the same with the River Po in Italy. The Rhine in Germany, and even the Danube. The Danube's water levels are so low that Romania has been forced to shut its last working nuclear reactor. One reactor at the Cernavodă nuclear power plant was already shut in July. Now the second reactor has also been shut. Nuclear power plants require water to cool the reactors, but there simply isn't enough water flowing in Europe's rivers. Europe is facing its fifth heat wave of the summer right now, and it has seen extremely low rainfall. This is why rivers across the continent have been flowing at record lows.
Look, I've been a fisherman for 39 years, and there's never been a drought like this before. I don't know. The people in charge up there need to take action.
In all my 70 years, I've never seen the water level this low. Today, you could walk across it in shorts, whereas years ago, the water would be up to your neck.
In Germany, the low water levels are hurting industry. Goods can't be transported down the Rhine. The Germans are scrambling to find alternative methods of transport to keep supply chains intact.
So a lot of ships can no longer be loaded the way they were in normal times, at higher water levels. It is difficult to put into figures right now, but of course everything that is possible is on the move. And the railway is also reaching its capacity limits. On the road it's the same. There is of course also only limited capacity there, a shortage of lorry drivers and everything that comes with it.
As the rivers dry, nearby farmland faces a water shortage too, and as a result, fields are parched and crops are dying. Yellow and brown fields have become a common sight across Europe. And it's the same story in the UK. 75% of Britain is experiencing some level of drought. Green spaces across the Isles are scorched. In just 1 year, it seems the UK has turned a parched yellow.
This is something that nobody here in the Dutch lowlands wants to see, these cracks in the dikes. And they are appearing everywhere if you look around.
There are cracks all over the place. You see it here. That is worrying because we are inspecting these dikes every week. And every week with the prolongation of the drought, we see more and more cracks.
If these dikes in the western part of the Netherlands collapse, they'll flood highly populated areas, lying 1 to 6 meters below sea level. That's why water authorities have started to impose heavy fines on anyone using fresh water for irrigation.
In order to maintain these water levels, I need all the water that is supplied into this region to maintain that. Water safety comes first. We've got a priority order agreed in the Netherlands and we stick to that.
It may feel strange to see this much water during a severe drought, but these canals are badly needed. Everyone, from greenhouse companies to residents, is forbidden to use them. And that's because this water has to flow to this basin for one reason, and that is to protect the dikes. The ban has created panic in the Westland, home to the world's largest greenhouse industry. Hundreds of growers risk losing their vegetables or flowers if they cannot secure enough water, potentially costing the industry millions of dollars. There's no water, nearly no water.
No, there's really no water. I really try to arrange everything to get water to here. And the trouble is only that I'm not the only one.
How much water do you still have for how many days?
We think about 8 days or something.
And then? The greenhouse industry, which is really large here, is very much complaining because they're worried that their products will go dry and rotten.
But this is, we need to accept, this is climate change. Some of these things we know that this would happen. The experts are saying they are also sometimes a bit surprised that the severity with which it happens is even occurring faster than envisaged. Yeah? So therefore this is not business as usual.
During the ban, water authorities have managed to collect fresh water as a backup in case the drought continues. But they fear even this will run dry. If it does, even harsher measures may need to be taken, such as using treated sewage water. Stepfasten, Al Jazeera, near The Hague.
It's the grazing, as you can see. That's supposed to be green grass, so we're actually buying in food. So it's going to be a loss on the cattle completely, because each bale you buy in is £50 odd, and they're getting through three of those in a week already, and the winter ain't even here yet. Cut right back with the cattle to try and bring the margins down, to try and help. But you're on the border of saying, well, why don't you just let them go, and get rid of them? But I do like a few cattle around. They look nice and everything else, and the customers like them. So, and these cattle, I've got a longhorn cattle, so they're quite attractive looking as well, which all helps Enfield. The public in Enfield like it. They come up here for a walk, see the cattle. From what I hear about wheat farmers and all the rest of it, for bread making wheat and everything like that, they've been hit hard because the seeds all shrunk and everything. So yeah, it's bound to push up prices. Well, hopefully this year it's the longest it's ever gone on for. Hopefully it'll be very soon. August, nights are pulling in, all things like that. So hopefully, end of the month, it should get a bit of rain, hopefully. In some ways it's a little bit too late, I think. Everything helps. Depends. Once that's spun out amongst all the farmers, the bigger farmers will get the bigger lump. People like me won't get bugger all. Always seems.
So this is the largest outbreak we've ever seen in history of cyclospora.
Doge in general will go down as an unmitigated disaster, particularly in the area of public health.
Experts are calling it one of the worst cyclospora outbreaks they've seen in the US. 47 states are reporting cases, and there is still no scientifically identifiable source. Thousands of people across the US have fallen ill. One of the hardest hit states, Michigan, is reporting more than 10,000 cases and at least 2 deaths linked to cyclosporiasis since the start of the outbreak.
I've been in this profession for 35 plus years. We've never seen an incident, certainly not even with bacteria, but with the parasite of this size.
Now, all eyes are on the US Food and Drug Administration, an agency that has been without permanent leadership since mid-May and is still in search of a new commissioner. That's right around the time the first cases of cyclospora started popping up. Pressure has been mounting since the agency identified lettuce distributed by Taylor Farms as a possible source of the outbreak.
Why did it take so long for us to hear from federal authorities when, once it's a multi-state event, they should be leading in quickly?
The FDA later said the sample of iceberg lettuce from Taylor Farms was a false positive, something that is common in the scientific process but only added to confusion. Fear around the outbreak is also weighing on fast food stocks. Yum Brands, the parent company of Taco Bell, Sweetgreen, and Cava all saw their stock prices drop on news of the outbreak.
This is a general problem right now in the United States that became a lot worse beginning early 2025 with the current administration.
I'm Brennan Gomez. I cover food and wellness here at CNBC, and I spoke to some of the country's top experts in food safety, who say the upheaval at the FDA is just the tip of the iceberg. The problem with tracking cyclospora is that it isn't a bacteria like E. coli or Salmonella. It's a parasite. Parasites don't reproduce on surfaces like bacteria do. So figuring out what foods are contaminated can be a long and difficult process. And by the time it's identified, thousands of people could already be sick.
While we've gotten much better at detecting infectious agents in samples from humans, we still are not great at detecting microbes in environmental samples.
Well, grocery prices are up nearly 32% since 2020, and that does include double-digit gains for many staples.
You've noticed this, right? In the past year, coffee went up nearly 13%, fresh tomatoes more than 19%, and then beef up about 12%. Now, changes to SNAP benefits are putting extra pressure on food banks. CBS's Usher Qureshi shows us how this is impacting families.
When I first started going there the first time, I was ashamed. I was scared.
For 60-year-old Susan Webb, who helps support her husband, children, and grandchildren, 6 of whom live with her, this trip to her neighborhood food bank in Rockford, Illinois, is essential.
It takes a lot to be able to tell someone, hey, I can't afford food.
Webb works 2 jobs, selling tickets at an entertainment venue and as the exit attendant at a nearby water park. She still relies on the food bank. Over the past 5 years, grocery prices have jumped 32%, making food affordability a top concern for many Americans. 1 in 10 adults reported relying on buy now, pay later loans to cover their groceries. And like many households across America, Webb has more mouths to feed than ever before.
My extended family has moved back in with us because they weren't able to afford their stuff. We don't have the ability to just go to the grocery store and spend $200–300, which is what it's costing nowadays.
She's not alone in her struggle to feed her family.
We are now serving over 570,000 people every month. So we are higher than the peak of COVID.
At Northern Illinois Food Bank, CEO Julie Yurko says demand has never been higher. Millions of Americans lost SNAP benefits due to new requirements and funding cuts, also putting an additional strain on food banks.
What happened to your lines when SNAP benefits were cut?
We saw a huge uptick. What it tells me, though, is that families are living with chronic food insecurity and chronic financial insecurity.
Where would you be without this place?
Probably back on the street.
Now, we've been hearing a lot in recent days about the possibility of fuel rationing if the Iran war drags on. But what about food rationing?
Well, a leading economist says that dire possibility should now be considered. But should we trust him? Well, he's got form for being right about major financial dramas.
Let's talk about the speed with which we are watching this market deteriorate.
This could be the most serious recession in decades.
He's the man who predicted the global financial crisis. Now, Australian-born economist Steve Keen has a new warning.
I think famine is almost inevitable. It's a question of where it occurs.
The UK-based professor isn't pulling any punches when he predicts the likely impact of the war in Iran if the Strait of Hormuz doesn't reopen soon.
If the worst comes to the worst, we will have a global famine, where some countries, quite possibly including Australia, will be unable to produce enough food for their populations.
Forget petrol pain. Steve Keen fears that despite government efforts to counteract the crisis, in the coming months, Aussie farmers won't have enough fertiliser to grow crops, and truck drivers won't have enough diesel to transport that fresh produce to the supermarket shelves. How vulnerable is Australia compared to the rest of the world?
There are two major issues for Australian food production coming out of this crisis. One is fertiliser may not be available in time for the growing season, and we are massively dependent upon fertiliser produced from fossil fuels to be able to create farm output in the very first instance. The second is that because Australia doesn't have anything resembling a decent rail network, transportation from the farm to the city is all by diesel trucks. Now, if the diesel isn't available, the trucks can't move and neither can the food. So this is something which should be taken extremely seriously.
So for your typical mum and dad at home, what do you expect they'll start experiencing?
The biggest scare is that, suddenly people who've expected to find food on the supermarket shelves are going to find it's not there.
The federal government says at the moment our fuel supplies are static. We have 39 days worth of petrol, 30 days of jet fuel and 29 days worth of diesel, with locked-in contracts for more fuel to be arriving into late May. Beyond that, more deals need to be done.
This week, on Thursday, I will head to Singapore for the annual leaders meeting with Prime Minister Lawrence Wong.
Professor Keane says that's not enough, especially when it comes to diesel.
The only buffer we have is that Australia is a major food exporter, but the inability to get the food from where it's produced to where it's consumed could mean Australians find themselves suffering from food rationing. That's how extreme this crisis could be.
In Australia, we've been talking about petrol rationing, but we haven't been talking about food rationing. When would you anticipate that this would start? Are you talking months, years?
Months, not years.
In which case, do you think we should be talking about rationing now?
Yes, we have to make sure that diesel is available for farm food production and for shipping, transporting food from the farm to the supermarkets. That is absolutely critical.
We are not considering rationing. We are focused on ensuring our fuel supply. We continue to do that with our international partners and the other actions that we have been taking.
Iran has rejected a proposed 45-day ceasefire, and the US today rejected Iran's counteroffer, leaving the looming deadline for Donald Trump to carry through on his threat to blow up Iran's power plants and bridges.
The entire country can be taken out in one night, and that night might be tomorrow night.
That's depressing, as Trump took another swipe at America's own allies.
And it's not just NATO. You know who else didn't help us? South Korea didn't help us. You know who else didn't help us? Australia didn't help us.
Steve Keen's final message for Australia?
Brace for impact. That's basically the message. This is going to be disastrous.
Well, they're finally getting a break from the heat here in Gettysburg, but the heat wave blanketing much of cattle country is doing more than stressing producers. It's taking a financial and physical toll on their herds. As temperature and humidity soar, some feedlots are reporting cattle losses in the thousands. Michelle Rook looks into the heavy toll that it's taking in Farm Journal Insights this weekend.
Yeah, Tyne, unfortunately, the extreme heat and humidity across cattle country from north to south is dealing a crushing blow to cattle producers. Despite stepped-up efforts to keep cattle cool, performance has been compromised, and there are rising death losses reported in feeder cattle and feedlot operations.
The relentless heat wave is taking its toll on cattle feedlots and smaller farmer feed yards, with reports of cattle weight gains going backwards.
You think 3% on a 1,600-pound steer is 48 pounds. I would guess in the last 3 days, when you've got heat index values close to 120 or even 130 in places in Nebraska, those cattle have shrunk 100 pounds pretty easy.
The bigger story is death loss being reported in central and southern plains feeding areas.
We've heard up to 300 lot in the hundreds in the southern states. On a percentage basis, I would say there's some yards that are at 3%, some are at 1%.
But the bigger losses have been in the northern feedlots.
Here in Nebraska and South Dakota, they've been taking the brunt of it as these cattle are bigger up here in the north, and they're not really maybe accustomed to the heat or the prolonged heat. It's been staying too hot at night in most instances, and these cattle just can't get cooled down.
Many feedlots had sold cattle to be delivered before the heat set in, but some of those heavier cattle were pushed back by packers. Now, this has led to tens of thousands of cattle deaths from north to south, and that number could grow if the heat is further prolonged.
I'd say we're probably in the neighborhood of probably 15 to 20 right now. If we get another hot stretch, we could probably work that number up towards that 20 to 30,000 head very easily, especially from what I've been hearing.
The losses are always a blow to feedlots, but especially in this high price environment.
Financially, yeah, it's definitely, it's big. It depends on the size of the yard, how much they can absorb, but regardless, one is tough, but losing multiple is not good.
Obviously, zero is too much in this market with what the cattle are worth, but not real good.
Some feedlots or farmer feeder operations do have insurance, but not all due to the high cost.
I'm Michelle Rook for U.S. Farm Report.
A massive development in Joslin, Illinois, where the hundreds of cars you see now on your screen were people who found out that their jobs at the Tyson plant were gone. That breaking coverage tops your news at 10 tonight. Good evening, I'm William Ingalls. The Tyson facility in Joslin is shutting down, leaving more than 2,500 people scrambling. This is the letter those workers got this afternoon confirming the plant's permanent closure. Workers will get paid for the next 2 months, but the job some have leaned on for years is gone. The Tyson Foods plant is located in Joslin. That plant began operations in 1983 under the ownership of Iowa Beef Processors. You can tell by the map it was a central part to the local and regional economy. But why is a company that's called the area home for so long closing its doors with next to no notice? Well, the breadcrumbs were public as of about 10 days ago on the company's earnings call. Tyson told shareholders they expect losses around $650 million this fiscal year in its beef processing sector alone. Company officials claim cattle shortages and high livestock costs are to blame for that massive loss. But that reasoning doesn't do much for the workers who now only have a few weeks to find where their next paycheck is coming from. KWQC's Elizabeth Ruggiero talked to some of those workers who learned their career at Tyson was over.
For decades, the Tyson complex in Joslin has been the heartbeat of this community, but that beat went silent this afternoon. As workers arrived for their shift, they weren't sent to the production line. They were funneled into the cafeteria to receive a letter that many say felt like a betrayal.
People started fighting, people were yelling, people were crying. I know people that have been here for 30 plus years. I know people that have been here as little as 3 days.
Tyson says the decision comes down to economics, rising beef prices, and lack of cattle. But for the 2,700 people who work behind these gates, the why doesn't matter as much as the what now. While they'll be paid through October, the loss of health insurance and steady work is a reality that is starting to sink in.
It's devastating. All these people without jobs, I take medication that costs $300 a month. Then insurance don't cover. Now I have to weigh in on that. I have to watch what I do, I guess. I don't know.
Rita Newton has been with Tyson for 11 years. She says the plant felt like a family that's now being split up for a company's bottom line. Though workers' new contract talks stalled this summer, an announcement like this didn't seem like a remote possibility.
How do you just drop, a bomb like that in a day? People coming in for their shift and, guess what? Go home. No more job. People leaving today from work are getting stopped. Hey, don't come back tomorrow. How do you do that to people?
A company that brought thousands of people down this road every day is expected to be a ghost town by Monday, with no plans to replace it anytime soon. In Joslin, Elizabeth Ruggiero, KWQC TV 6.
Tyson Foods facility in Utah County that just opened 5 years ago is now set to close. That move will result in the loss of hundreds of jobs. News specialist Daniel Woodruff is in Eagle Mountain, where people are reacting to this news. Daniel?
Tyson Foods says it's closing this plant as the company restructures to deal with a historic cattle shortage, and 723 people are losing their jobs.
I'm really heartbroken right now.
Mary Del Lewis lives in Eagle Mountain and has worked at the Tyson Foods plant since it opened in 2021.
We thought we were going to get a bonus because it's our 5-year anniversary.
Instead, she was told the plant will close in October and she'll be out of a job.
It's hard to take in. It's like, is it true?
We're really concerned about this.
Abby Ivory is Eagle Mountain's Economic Development Director. She says the city is working with the state and Tyson Foods itself to support workers.
We're concerned about making sure that they have all the resources available to make a transition easier, not just with getting a job, but any hardships the family might have in the meantime.
It just shows you the lack of herd we have in the United States.
Utah Commissioner of Food and Agriculture Kelly Pearson says the U.S. cattle supply has dwindled due to drought, fires, a closed border, and the high cost of feed. Tough conditions, he says, for a business like Tyson.
They invested $300 million on that plant, bringing it to Utah. And and it was a great investment, a great asset to the community.
Pearson says this highlights the importance of local food production, which he says the state is working to develop. But right now, he feels for those losing their jobs.
I needed money, to pay for everything.
Mary Dell says she'll now start looking for something new.
If anyone is hiring out there, let me know.
In addition to the Eagle Mountain plant, Tyson Foods says it's also closing one in Illinois and looking to sell another in Washington State. Daniel Woodruff, KSL 5 News.
They pack bodies in ships like cargo and trade. Human lives reduced to a number engraved. Names stripped away, replaced with a price. History written in profit, paid for with lives. Blood in the water, prayers in the night. Mothers held children that faded from sight. No graves, no closure, no time to prepare. Just silence swallowed by salt in the air. And you say, that was then, why you holding the past? But trauma don't move just because time passed. You don't bury your wound by ignoring the scar. You don't heal the people by denying who they are. You built your empires on backs that broke. Now you're surprised that the pain still spoke. You say move on, like it's easy to do, like the past didn't bleed into all that we knew. Like the wealth, the power, the structures you claim aren't still echoing that original pain. Don't tell me how to mourn, you don't carry this weight. Don't tell me let it go, when you still benefit. You don't set the time for when my people heal. You don't write the script for what we're allowed to feel. If the past is so gone, then why does it remain in the systems, the silence in the cycle of pain? Don't tell me how to mourn. This grief ain't yours to claim. You say equal rights, but the fight still exists. Different chains now, but they still on the wrist. From the streets to the cells to the roads we're denied. You change the method, but the mindset survived. We get police for our tone, for our skin, for our stance. Then you question our anger like it's just circumstance. Say, why are you loud? Why you bringing this up? 'Cause silence is comfort for those at the top.